All right. Happy holidays, everyone. Gary Ryan here with you with today's Fed League Flash. This is being pre recorded, but this is for Wednesday, December 27th. And so doing a video, doing power rankings by video today because I can. Things are all kind of messed up the next couple of weeks as far as when I do Spotify podcasts, when I do YouTube videos, because my work schedule has been altered with the holidays. So I figured, well, we'll do a video while we can. Power rankings. If you have been listening on Spotify, we do every week. This is week 11. Start off with number 11, work our way up to number 1. And so to try and add a little bit of suspense, I kind of blocked off the one half. But yeah, we have the first 6 teams we're going to start off with, the bottom 6 teams. And anyway, let's look at this. Unchanged from last week, I have the Baton Rouge Zydeco. They've got a tough road to hoe for a couple of different aspects. One, of course, their Achilles heel all year has been offense. They're only averaging 3.0 goals scored per game. Not enough in the Fed. They've got to find some more offensive weapons now. Hopefully, again, I'm recording this before the Zydeco take on the Seawolves. With the Spotify podcast we have on Wednesday, I will be recapping that game as well as news and notes. But anyway, Baton Rouge, it's very tough. I mean, they've played almost all their games at home, and they have 5 wins to show for it, mainly because of that lack of offense. Now, they do have Kyle Stevens, hopefully getting into the lineup. But they need more offensive weapons. Defense has been all right. Goaltending has been very good. So that's not the problem. The problem is up front. They need more weapons to put the puck in the net. Of course, it's harder to play on the road than it is at home. And I mean, their road trip goes from now until February 29th. So that's a lot of games, 18, in fact, to be playing on the road when you have an offense that's not doing much. So right now I have them at 11. Number 10, we have the Bobcats. Blue Ridge has had tough time scoring themselves. Gotten shut out the last 2 games. They have offensive weapons. They just haven't found any kind of synchronic. They haven't gotten in sync. Can't think of the word. But anyway, they just haven't gotten in sync. And on paper, this is a good group of players. They're just not getting a lot of performance, and I'm not sure what the answer is to that. So, I have them at 10. Number 9, Elmira. They had a very rough weekend this last weekend. Couple of big losses to Motor City. Elmira's biggest problem is that they are a much different club on the road than they are at home. At home, they seem to be able to play pretty well. On the road, they just have not found it yet. They need to figure out how to string together some road wins. Number 8, again, these first 4 teams, the same place as they were last week. Port Huron Prowlers, again, I look at them and go, why? They should be a lot better than they actually are, especially offensively. You got Scannelberry, you've got Graham, you got Johnson on the back end scoring on the power play. You have Dalton J. I mean, this team should be performing better than it is, and it's just not happening. If you go to the Port Huron Facebook page, Chris Paulin, who's been serving as a head coach. He's an assistant coach, but he's been serving as a head coach. He does a good job as far as breaking things down, as far as why it's just not happening, and it should. So hopefully things improve in the near future. Number 7, down one place from last week, the Watertown Wolves. It was very tough being without Tate Leeson for both games this last weekend, and Trevor Lord for the one game. And it's a very disjointed offensive effort when 47% of your goals comes from two guys. Something's got to change as far as your offensive scheme and your chemistry. So Watertown needs to improve on there. The defense again, pretty solid. I know the one game was 9-1, but that was just things just fell apart quickly. The early part of the game, Watertown was playing very well defensively, and goaltending, that's not the problem either. They just got to get themselves going on the offensive end. Number 6, up one place despite not playing this last weekend, the Mississippi Seawolves. Now, their offense has been a little bit stagnant as well the last couple of weeks, but they're still all right. Their problem is just defensive responsibility, and now to complicate matters, they have a couple of goaltenders, one called up to the SP and one out on injured reserve. So right now, Blake Wayrick and Anthony Deloisio have to figure out a way of getting that extra save in. The defense needs to not give up quite so many offensive chances to the opposition. A very exciting team to watch, but more often than not, they're playing from behind. That's the only reason why I don't have them higher on this list. But offensively, they still have the most. They have the most potential of any team in the Fed offensively, especially when you have Lariakos and Koch and Nilsson up front. The sky is the limit. All right, we're going to pause this, and we will reveal the final 5. All right, so number 5, same place as they were last week, the Danbury Hat-Tricks. They are improving after a pretty rough start. And again, Danbury's main difficulty has just been being healthy and having everyone available on the rosters, whether it's because of call-ups or an injury. They just have not been able to have much continuity on with their lineup. And that, considering that, the fact that they have won more games than they've lost up to this point really is a testament as far as the resilience of this team and of Billy McCreary with the coaching staff. It's been a rough start, and but they're showing signs of getting better. They've played pretty decent. They're 6-4-2 in their last 10 games, so there's definitely been an improvement since the beginning of the season. All right, number 4, and I'm still putting them at 4 because I still feel like the top 3 teams are on a different tier. But Motor City, they got back on their winning track this last weekend in a big way. 17 goals scored over 2 games. Again, this team, when they are healthy, and they don't have players out on suspension, they play pretty well as a contingent unit. And now you have the recent addition of TJ Sneath, who has gotten off to an extremely good start. So, Motor City is kind of starting to climb back up, but they still have a lot of ground to cover before they could potentially reach the top spot in the Empire Division. Number 3, moving down 2 spots, the Columbus River Dragons. And really, the main reason why I had them shifting from first down to third is, uh, we see them play well most nights. They didn't necessarily play bad against Carolina this last week, but there's definitely a hurdle there, kind of a mental step that they have to climb. Because going back into last season, actually, I had said it's been X amount of games in a row that when Columbus and Carolina play each other, Columbus gets off to an early lead, and then Carolina just takes over the game. That happened the last 4 games of last season. Columbus taking the lead and then having it, losing it, and then the first 3 regular season games this year. So there's obviously a trend here, and Columbus has to figure out how to even the playing field between those 2 teams, because it's obviously the Continental is down to those 2 teams. It's either Carolina or Columbus that's going to take the division. But Columbus at this point, until they figure out how to beat Carolina, it's going to be a problem. Number 2, the Carolina Thunderbirds. And there is an argument as far as whether you could have Carolina or Binghamton as number 1. And it's tough to determine that because between those 2 teams, the teams have split. So, but yeah, Carolina just not really showing many signs of weakness. They're playing really, really well. Obviously, when you have an all-world goaltender like Mario Cavalier, you're going to win a lot of games. They're playing very well up front. It's kind of curious to see why they're struggling early in some games. But then, it's like after they get a few minutes under their feet, they're lights out. The main reason why I put Binghamton at number 1 is because their team defense has been so phenomenal. Yes, they've been scoring a lot of goals too, but the main reason why Binghamton just has been able to win so many games, bank so many points, they've got the most points of any team in the league with 50, is because of their team defense. They're not allowing a ton of shots against them. They're not allowing a lot of primary chances. And, they're keeping the puck out of their own net. In the meantime, even if they have call-ups or injuries or suspensions or whatever, they find a way of scoring enough and letting their defense determine the tempo in their own zone. And then, when things break down with the other side, they're able to capitalize on the chances. So that's really the main reason why I have Binghamton as number 1. But, I mean, for all intents and purposes, I think Binghamton and Carolina are on equal footing. So there you go. Again, this is subjective. You could do your own power rankings and have things in a different order, and that's okay. That's fine. Again, I just do this to kind of give you a general idea as far as how teams are doing, how they're trending, where they stand in the standings, what weaknesses they have, what strengths they have, all those kind of things. So this is my take. All right, so our next video is not going to be until Sunday. Saturday, I have to work, so I can't do a video. I'm going to do a recap of the Friday night games on Spotify. And then Sunday, we'll be back here on video on YouTube. So make sure to follow me on all 3 platforms, on Spotify, on Facebook, and here on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourselves a wonderful week, and we'll catch you again this weekend.